Hey everyone! As you can tell by the title of this video, it is that time of year again where I go through every bracelet I made in 2023. I've got a big bag, not completely full of bracelets, but still something worth showing off this year. Even though a lot of these bracelets were made for tutorials, I think it's still fun to kind of do a yearly recap to kind of reflect on my year in bracelets, really, and to also hopefully give you guys some good inspiration for the new year. And quickly, just before we begin, I will have the pattern number in the top left corner with every segment, and you will find a corresponding link in the description box where I will have chapters for each bracelet pattern and a link to a tutorial if I have one. So starting off, we have this really fun sort of Celtic inspired pattern that I made this year. I honestly love working with blue and orange. Only makes sense because they are complementary colors. It's more of a desaturated color palette as well, which I think just looks really nice. And from what I remember, this one worked up really quickly. And then next, we have this really fun rainbow pattern. I think I'm still trying to get the hang of a good color palette because this one I feel like doesn't completely work well. Like the blue is a little bit more desaturated, and then this like pink and orange are so neon that I feel like I still haven't perfected my color picking process. But it's kind of strange because when you hold on to your skeins or when you look in your collection, the colors that you're holding in your hand don't necessarily look the exact same once they are worked up in a pattern. There are so many times where I think I pick a promising palette and then I see the bracelet being worked up and it just doesn't look how I wanted it to at all. But hopefully with time, that'll just come naturally to me. And then we have this really awesome sort of twist on a chevron pattern. I think I enjoy the more neon looking one way more, but like I just mentioned in the last bracelet, I think this color palette doesn't 100% work, which is why I almost gravitate a little bit more towards the pastel, because everything is so much more uniform. But then you have this one where it's almost fully neon, but then the purple is just not quite vibrant enough, and it's just not perfect. But this is a really fun pattern to make. And then I have this really unique half zigzag and half chevron bracelet. I really wanted to make this into a tutorial. I think that was kind of my purpose for this one, but it turned out to be a little bit more complicated than I signed up for, so I just made this for fun. I think this one would have turned out way better if I used like a more neon or vibrant color palette on the other side. And then this pattern is from a tutorial that I have uploaded just before this video, if you're watching this as it comes out. I love this color palette and I love how this pattern turned out as well. I feel like I'm kind of leaning more towards these desaturated tones. I think this just worked up so nice, and I love that I used a dark brown in the middle instead of just black. I think this just turned out so awesome. And then I made this cute little paw print keychain right here. I wanted to dip my toe back into alphas a little bit, and I found these yin yang sort of keychains. I think this is from Soda Pop. I might be wrong, but I feel like that is who these next two patterns are from. But I thought this one was just so adorable, so I made it with purple background strands. Super fun to look at the back of these ones too. And then along the same lines, we have this flower keychain that I did, and on the one side I did an ombre thread because I have so much ombre thread and I just don't really know what to do with it, aside from my couple of tried and true bracelet patterns where I can use just variegated thread. But this one ended up turning out so nice with the ombre. It starts out light, goes dark, and then light again, and it worked out so perfectly. And then for the 4th of July, I made this. I found this when I was looking for a 4th of July pattern to make again this year, but I think this one would look really nice with like a neon palette, honestly. And then here is a sort of sneak peek these bracelets are for an unreleased video. I have this video finally edited. I just need to create the thumbnail and work on the description and all that, and then it'll be released next year. As much as I love the idea of the ombre with this pattern, I don't like how the bracelet turned out. I don't know if you can tell. This is the one I made the tutorial with. It is completely loose and floppy, whereas this one is a lot more robust. And I think the color palette on this one just looks a lot nicer. Honestly, I kind of went in with this like fire and ice sort of theme, but this was an absolute pain to film and edit. I actually filmed this video twice and finally got it right on the second time. But the reason why it's such a beefy video is because I did 2 sets so that it repeated nicely for the video. And I was just filming it for an hour, and I think I got it down to like 30 something minutes. But oh man, it was a lot to get through. But yeah, you can look forward to this coming up in January. Or, you know, if you found this video a little bit late, I'll have it linked in the top right corner and also in the description box. And then we have this fun kind of like arrowhead chevron here. It's kind of blah to me, honestly, when I look at it. Like the color palette just doesn't really incite a lot of excitement for me. I think it's just because the brown is a little bit too yellowy. I don't know. There's just something about it that doesn't make me all that excited. But the pattern itself is really fun, and I had a lot of fun working on it. And then I finally finished one of my really big projects that I started probably 2 years ago, and recently finished it so that I could finally change all of my branding for my profile pictures and my YouTube page and all of that. It is my rainbow series, completely out of order, with one of my favorite patterns to work up and an older tutorial that I have on my channel. I'm very annoyed though because this purple one, I repeated the last 2 rows completely on accident. And it really drives me insane, and I didn't notice it until I completely finished with the ties and everything. I really considered undoing the rows just for this last diamond, but I was like halfway done with these by the time I even noticed that. And so I just kind of let it go because realistically nobody's going to even notice, and these bracelets are just going to sit in my collection once I'm done filming anyway. But I was so happy to finally be done with these. I just sat down and cranked them out, and now they're kind of my mascot for my channel. And then we have all of my pride bracelets. So I pre-filmed tutorials for June. I made, well, how many is this? Like 8 bracelets to upload for all of June, and a lot of them are pretty easy. Some of them are a little bit more complex too. And of course, all of these would make perfect bracelets for any color palette that you want, but I wanted to pick out patterns and make bracelets for different pride flags, and I would have loved to have gotten to so many more flags, but 8 alone was a huge project, and partially why I took a break for so long, but another part to it I'll talk about at the end. So just picking randomly, we have this really fun color blocking kind of diamond bracelet. This one I made for Asexual Pride. Editing me here, dropping in just to say this was not for my Asexual Pride video. I went back through my channel and I have no idea when I made this bracelet. It obviously had to be in 2023 because I threw it into my yearly bracelet pile so I can make these videos for the end of the year. But I made a tutorial for this pattern at the end of 2022. So I don't really remember what reason I made this diamond pattern for, but I obviously had to have made it this year. And the actual Asexual Pride bracelet I made was this one. And going back into the actual tutorial, I realized it wasn't in my pile because it never actually made a full bracelet. It just almost did. And then on the tutorial itself, I used scrap thread to demonstrate it. So this was a really weird hiccup to run into while editing the video, but let's get back into it. And then I made this sort of chevron kind of pattern with the non-binary flag. And then this one was for the lesbian pride flag. This pattern on its own is really fun too. I think if I remember right, it only works in like 2 steps. And I don't even remember which end is the top. So I'm gonna hold it sideways. But yeah, this one's really cool. And then we have this really cute heart pattern for trans pride. Super adorable pattern just on its own. And then I have this really fun candy stripe pattern for gender fluid pride. This one got kind of messy at the end. My strings were just barely too short. So I don't know if I should just cut those stragglers or what, but for now, they're encased enough. And then we have this bracelet for polyamory pride. This one was really fun as well. And as you can see, I had to add in string down the bracelet, and that's how I know that this is the bottom. So this one's really fun. I think this one only works up in like 2 steps as well. And then we have this for pansexual pride. Again, some of these patterns were very simple, but when you're making 8 videos for the whole month, sometimes they do need to be a little bit more simple, but they're all still really fun patterns. Don't get me wrong. Not every bracelet has to be complex. And obviously not pictured is my bisexual pride bracelet. I think I might have thrown that into my full collection because from what I remember, it didn't end up working out very nicely. Like the ends just were not long enough for me to work with, and so I have it in my full collection box right now. Just kind of waiting for me to figure out what to do with it if I ever end up doing anything, but that one was a really cool pattern too, so I'm kind of sad I can't physically show that. And I would dig through my box, but that would take way too long. My collection is literally in a shoebox now. And then for my final physical bracelet to show you guys, I have just the plain LGBT pride bracelet. This pattern also on its own is just so adorable, and I love the loop that I ended up doing up here. I don't really like doing the multicolored loops. I don't know what it is, but I just cannot make them look nice no matter how hard I try. But it was still worth it for this bracelet. And then for the pattern that just kept me so busy and kept my collection for this year very small, it was my very first ever wall hanging. This was a wall hanging that I started kind of in July, end of June, after pre-filming all of my pride bracelets. It was intended to be a birthday present for one of my friends to send off in August, but I never finished it in time because it was a lot of work and I just couldn't stay focused on it. So I kept it for Christmas and I finished it just in time to send to her. So I'll have a picture on screen for you guys. It is absolutely adorable. It frustrates me that it's not absolutely perfect. It was quite bumpy in a lot of places, which is something I don't know, I think I have to accept with alphas because I just can't figure out how to get it to look nice, but it is still a creation that I love so much. I was so sad to see it go, but I know it has went off to an absolutely wonderful home, so I'm not too sad about it. And honestly, I have strings waiting for my next wall hanging, so hopefully we'll see that in my collection next year. I don't know. And then while I'm at it, here is an honorable mention for a pattern that I was going to make for a Christmas present, but I decided to instead send a bracelet that had a different color palette than this one. I think I showed this pattern in my 2021 collection video. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this very simple diamond pattern is just so fun to make. And I will definitely have this finished in like an hour or 2. I just didn't want to finish it for the video. So that is it for my collection this year. I just have so many other hobbies that I work on that sometimes my bracelets will take a bit of a back seat, if you will. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video today and just hanging out for a little bit. I hope 2024 brings us all a lot of good luck and happiness and just everything that we need that we missed out on in 2023. Who knows where this year is gonna take us all, hobby-wise, real life-wise, just everything. And I wish nothing but the best for you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video today. Again, I really hope you enjoyed listening and hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one.